You are listening to Weight Loss Made Real, and this is episode 202. I'm your host, Master Weight Loss Coach and author, Cookie Rosenblum. Today and every Tuesday, I will be your coach and your guide to help you end your emotional eating and lose that extra weight. If you just found me, welcome, and welcome back if you are a regular listener. Here's where we talk about your habit of emotional eating, which is the main focus of all the work I do. This is where coaching meets psychology and psychology meets brain science. And this is where your problem ends. So get comfortable and get ready to be coached. Before we begin, I want to remind you that this episode of Weight Loss Made Real is brought to you by the Freedom Group. The Freedom Group is a monthly membership for smart women just like you who are ready to stop overeating from stress and habit and learn how to make space for more happiness in their life. You can learn more about the Freedom Group and get on the wait list in the show notes of this episode, or go to weightlossmadereal.com/group. Okay, let's get started with your coaching session. Today we're going to talk about what it's like as a day in the life of a natural eater. Now, this is our second one, or maybe our third one in a row, that was a request by a Freedom Group member. You know that I give my members priority, and they can make requests of me in the group for topics that they would love to hear me dive a little deeper on. And that's how some of the podcasts are born. You've heard me talk a lot on this show, in this podcast, about learning to become a natural eater. Well, today I'm going to walk you through a day in the life, what it feels like, what it looks like to be a natural eater. Some of you might not be able to envision this, so I wanted to paint a picture for you so that you could begin to imagine and get excited about what it is you're actually working toward. A natural eater eats when she's hungry, stops when she's satisfied, and in between does not really think that much about food. She's not on a diet, she's not restricting herself, she's not judging her food, and she's not doing that nightly scorecard. Do you do this? I used to do it every night. How did I do today? What did I eat today? Was it good? Was it bad? How was I? A natural eater makes food choices that are mostly high quality and high taste to both nourish her body and enjoy the food. For a natural eater, food is food and it's pleasurable, but it's not the center of her thoughts and her plans for the day. There's not this big emotional connection to it that drives her eating. So let's take a look at how you define being a natural eater for yourself. And as I talk you through this, you can ask yourself some of these questions and see where you stand. So join me in talking about what might a typical day look like in the life of a natural eater. Now, I want to just say, you might hear my little dog in the background kind of shaking himself, and you might hear his collar a little bit today, jingling a tiny little bit in the background because he's laying on my carpet in my office as I talk to you and as I record this, and I think he's dreaming and he keeps moving around. So I don't want to wake him up and kick him out of the room. So if you hear any little noise in the background, it's Henry. All right, we're going to break this down into two different parts. The first part is, what does a natural eater do on a day when things go as planned? We all know that there are two kinds of days, right? Good, easy days, and then there's the challenging days. Now, when things go as planned, a natural eater might have a plan for the day and doesn't encounter any major upsets. There's no major stressors in the background. You know that in my program, because I've talked about it a lot, there are three big topics, right? And that's what I coach women on. The three topics are how you eat, how you think, and how you care for yourself. Eat, think, love. So right now we're going to start with how you eat. So we're talking about a day in the life of a natural eater when everything's going as planned. How does she eat? All right, join me here. She eats like this. Food is both available and accessible. Food that's nourishing for her body, yet at the same time it's food that she enjoys. Foods of all types are welcome, but some are in limited portions because that's what makes her feel best. This is determined by what she considers helpful versus not so helpful. Mostly, she chooses high-quality foods to honor her body. She knows approximately when she'll eat. She has kind of a general flow of meal times that are in line with her hunger and her schedule. She has the feeling that she knows what she can expect from her hunger. Approximately, right? Not to the letter. She eats portions that keep her fueled and satisfied for several hours, and she's able to dismiss offers of food in between meals because she's not hungry and doesn't physically need to eat. She doesn't really think about food after planning it until she's noticing her hunger signals. So her day doesn't revolve around thinking and planning for what and when she could eat next. Food's kind of in the background. It's serving its function of nourishing her body, and her other needs are met elsewhere, not by eating. She's really clear on her hunger signals, and she's learned what light hunger feels like for her and her body, which is different than everyone else. She also knows when her body is lightly satisfied or lightly full, and she recognizes that physical feeling before she gets overly full. Now, the natural eater's not perfect. That's not what we're looking for. Once in a while, she eats a little too much. It might be a holiday or a special event or a special restaurant, and she might have a few extra bites of things, but she's not likely to have an entire second helping or an entire finishing of a bag or a container of food. She puts food away for later, knowing that she could have more when she's hungry, and it's not that hard for her to do. Eating too much just doesn't occur regularly, and it doesn't lead to more and more over the next few meals or days because the words, "I've already blown it," do not enter her mind. Now, if she does eat, there's no guilt, but she's happy to get back on track at the next meal. Not tomorrow, not next week, definitely not New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. Eating is definitely a pleasure. It nourishes her body, nourishes her taste buds, and she has a lot of awareness as she's eating. She's savoring what she's eating, and being mindful adds to the pleasure she's getting from the food. And then she's able to just seal up that meal. She's done, right? She eats at the right time, and then she moves on to the rest of her day. So on a comfortable day with ease in it, that is how the natural eater eats. Now let's look at how she thinks. She thinks about her day ahead of her, and she knows approximately how she's going to handle most things without creating a big stress or emotional response. She thinks about what's on her mind, what she's been pondering. She's aware of what her mood is like, and she could put her finger on telling me if I asked her, "How are you feeling right now emotionally?" She can pinpoint her mood, so she's aware of it and makes choices that are positive and helpful. And then she can deal with her mood without escaping it or distracting herself from it with eating or drinking or other behaviors, and without taking it out on others, which of course makes relationships a little more difficult, and without creating stress for herself. She understands that moods come and go depending on what she's thinking, so she doesn't necessarily overreact to a mood. She knows that she could use her thoughts to change her mood, to have a better feeling day, to stay on track with her goals, and to enjoy her time as well as she can. All right, natural eater, how she eats, how she thinks on an easy day, and here it is, how she loves herself. Taking care of herself is a priority. It's a natural part of her day because she recognizes the need to think of herself throughout the day so that she could function well and not end the day overtired, overstressed, and neglected, right? Neglected by herself. So she gives herself small, regular doses of self-care and maintenance that feel natural and are built into her day, her week, her month. She doesn't look at self-care as a special occasion thing or a once in a blue moon thing. And very importantly, she doesn't wait until she's totally depleted. She puts fun and connection time on the calendar regularly. She makes time and effort to plan leisure time, social and intellectual things, and cultural activities, family activities, a whole variety of energizing events and gatherings each week or month, whatever fits into her life. Doesn't that sound good? Now, her alone time is planned for because she recognizes the importance of me time and she knows that she deserves it. She's not waiting until everyone else's needs are met or everything else is done. She builds it into every day or every week. She knows that she needs to recharge her batteries regularly. And these are small amounts of time that she easily works in and loves and appreciates. And she looks at weekends as more than just catch-up time for errands and planning for the week to come. She does some of the things that we just talked about and puts some of them right into her weekend. So she creates this natural rhythm between getting things done and turning the focus on herself with no guilt. She doesn't think, well, I need to be good to earn self-care, or I need to lose weight to earn self-care. She looks at it as just a part of life, and that's what works. Now, we just talked about a day in the life of a natural eater on a day when everything's going smoothly, how she eats, thinks, and loves. Now, we're going to look at part 2, a day in the life of a natural eater when life throws you that curveball. Because life as we know it has a lot of curveballs, right? There's a pandemic, there's job stress, there's family stress, money stress, child stress, health stress, and you probably could add a few of your own. So when life as we know it throws you a curveball, which is probably 50% of the time, how does that natural eater eat? Well, she makes time to grocery shop and plan for nourishing food because she understands the importance of planning ahead of time. So she has food planned so it's one less thing to worry about when life gives you other things to think about. And she's happy with her choices because she knows that they're going to make her nourished and satisfied and not deprived. Now, if things come up and there's not enough time or energy for the original things that she planned, for her food, for her meals, maybe she might abandon her plan and eat differently. But she looks at it as a flexible plan. I like to call it a soft plan in order to reduce stress. So she has several different options that are still good choices for food that don't lead to more overeating or not feeling well physically. That's the last thing you want to do on a day that already is giving you a curveball. So it might be ordering food in or doing takeout, and those things, if you do them well, will put some ease back into your day. But the natural eater doesn't completely abandon her inner compass of knowing when to start eating and when to stop eating. And she still has certain standards about what she eats, even with a change of plans. So she never just says the hell with everything and goes into the chips and cookies and pizza, even when life is not smooth. She always checks in with hunger and satisfaction levels and stays in tune with her body. She's taking good care of herself because it's still a priority when things don't go as planned, and maybe even more important then. So if she's not hungry, she asks herself, okay, what do I need? Not what do I want? Because your lower brain is always going to want good tasting food. So it's not what you want, it's what do you really need. She recognizes that eating in response to stress is not the solution because it doesn't reduce the stress, it only temporarily distracts from it. All right, so that's how she eats on a day that is challenging. How does she think on a day that's challenging? So when there's stress, when things are happening that create stress in her mind and her body, she goes into plan B, and she has a plan B ready to go. She knows the basics of how to think about it. If blank happens, then I will do this. So she's rarely, not never, but rarely caught unaware. She knows how to take care of herself no matter what life throws out. She can take apart her thoughts and her feelings and get really clear on what's going on. So she might ask herself, all right, what's the problem? What are the facts? What are my thoughts about it? How do I feel emotionally? She can recognize her feelings and name them and not act on them, not react to them if that would be harmful to herself. And it's like kind of checking in and taking her emotional temperature and learning how to respond instead of react. She knows how to create better feeling thoughts when she's having a hard time or just feeling down. And she knows to not turn to food as a response unless, of course, she's hungry. She might feel unsettled like you and I do, or unfinished with something she's struggling with, but she could allow herself to feel unsettled without self-medicating with food. She knows that solutions are not always immediate, and this is okay. So she develops resilience. She knows that this is just the rhythm of life, ups and downs, and most downturns will eventually right themselves. Okay, so last challenging day. How does that natural eater deal with love, self-care? Well, she doesn't abandon herself. She knows that eating extra food to feel better is not an option. She doesn't think that way. It doesn't make the situation better. It's not true self-care. It's a temporary distraction. She also takes care not to isolate herself. So she reaches out for true comfort and connection if it's needed. She doesn't hibernate with a bag of chips and 2 pizzas and 3 glasses of Chardonnay. She has real self-talk awareness. She talks to herself in a loving way. And she might think, I will get through this. Her mantra might be one of our Freedom Group favorites. I can deal with hard things, or I will figure this out, or if I got through this, I can get through this situation. She knows that now is not a time for perfectionism or being hard on herself because of stress. So she allows for feelings that may be difficult or uncomfortable. She could feel them and take small actions that will help her feel better. She knows that this is the time for more self-care. So remember, she asks herself, what does she really need right now? And then she figures out how to give that to herself. What needs to be rearranged, what can wait, what cannot get done. What small thing can help her feel better, maybe more rested, maybe more calm. All right, so for this week, here is your action step. I want you to think about your own current actions when you're having a day and things are going well. Think about what you do in each of those categories, how you eat, how you think, and how you love yourself. Now, I want you to think, once you've had a chance, please write it down, by the way. I want you to think about your own current actions when life falls apart. When life throws you that curveball, the unexpected thing, what are your typical actions in those categories? Eat, think, love. And when you finish that, I want you to look at it. What might you do differently? Pick something, not everything. Pick something. Which of the things we talked about today resonated most with you? What are you already doing well, and what can you add to or do more of? And at the same time, what might you like to do less of? What would it be like to take good care of yourself every day as a natural eater? I hope I've painted a picture for you to aspire to. Don't look at it and say, whoa, I have to change every single thing I do. Let's start small and baby step our way to where you want to go. Okay, my friend, that is it for this subject in our coaching session today. You know what you're going to think about and what you're going to focus on this week. I really appreciate you being here and making this a part of your day. If you'd like to connect with me on a deeper level, I'd love for you to join me in my free Facebook group where we talk about the podcast and I help you take the action step that we talk about here each week. The link to the group is in the show notes, not the Freedom Group, but the free Facebook group, or you can go to Facebook and just search for Weight Loss Made Real, the group. We'll ask you a few questions, and when you answer them, we will welcome you in there. I hope to see you back here next week where we will continue to work on both your emotional eating and that general overeating step by step until they become something you used to do, because we know that's your goal. So for now, this is your Coach Cookie reminding you that as you search for answers, keep it real, just like you. And I'll see you next week.